Welcome to Escaping the Echo Chamber. I'm not here to whisper sweet nothings in your ear, and you're not here because the truth is something that you fear. We're gonna we're gonna start with the story today, but we're gonna get into the race, Marcel Dixon versus Clyburn. But I want to provide a story because we need some background in terms of politics, in terms of what it takes to actually take on the machine and win. And now, first of all, to anybody who doesn't know who I am, Escaping the Echo Chamber is the name of the channel. My name is Aaron Comey. How do what role do I play in politics? Well, I've actually run for office. Spoiler alert, I lost. But I've been involved in politics. I've run for office. I've ran a political party, a local party, not a national party. But I've been very active in politics for years now, and what I'm bringing to what I want to bring to the table is ideas and strategies, because that's basically my approach. My approach is bringing strategies to the table that will enable us to get what we need, and by us I mean the Black community, to get what we need through a variety of means. Um, okay, so already we have a comment. Cortese, welcome to the stream. Welcome to the stream, Cortese. I don't think voting will work. The system is and has always been broken. And here's why I will say the system is working exactly as designed. The system isn't broken. The system is working. It's designed to work this way. So once we establish how it's supposed to work and realize that it's working as it's supposed to, our job is to figure out ways around it. Our job is to figure out strategies to get what we need in spite of the system. And voting is alone will not accomplish it. I am 1,000% in agreement with you. Voting alone will not accomplish it. I do think voting does matter. In fact, correction, I know voting matters. Voting does matter, but that alone does not solve the problem. And so what it's going to take is a multi-faceted, a multi-tiered approach to achieve various objectives. And the Black agenda, what we'll need is this is going to a war that has to be fought on multiple fronts. Just going straight ahead to say, oh, it's just about votes, because that's what Michelle Obama will say. Oh, yeah, we got to vote. That's what Roland Martin will get out there and say, oh, if you don't vote, then you can't complain. And they just voting serves the party's purposes, serves politicians' purposes. Just voting does not serve our purposes or get us what we need. But like I said, we're going to start with the story. And the story we're going to start with is with Bernie Sanders, because we're going to start with Bernie Sanders' election. Because I'm here in New York, and I remember when Bernie Sanders was running against Hillary Clinton. He's running against Hillary Clinton. Now, Hillary Clinton has decades, not just decades of experience in politics, but decades at the top tier of politics. So from being the white first lady, from being influential in the back scenes of politics, to becoming the senator from New York, to running against Barack Obama, and then becoming joining his staff as Secretary of State. Like, Hillary Clinton was a tremendously powerful figure, and she's had Bill behind her, Bill, former president of the United States, and they have their foundation, which moves so much money around and so much influence. So that's key. You got to realize they kept their foundation around. So even when they weren't in office, their foundation exists, and their foundation was controlling influence. So when Hillary Clinton is running for president for the Democratic nomination, and everybody in the Democratic Party, mostly everybody in the Democratic Party is saying this is her time. It's her time. And one guy says, and he wasn't even officially a Democrat. At that point, Bernie Sanders was an independent. He was in Congress, he caucused with the Democrats, but he was an independent. He says, I want to challenge her. I want to challenge her. Because even though she has all this weight behind her, despite the fact that the Democratic establishment has all but coronated her queen of the party, the next in line, I don't like her policies. I want more policies that are geared towards poor people, more policies that will provide, more more safety nets, more money going into the hands of regular people, into the pockets of regular people, health care for all. Like, I want these things because if she gets in, I'm telling you that she's just going to send money to rich people, to Wall Street, to her donors. That's all she's going to do. This is what Bernie Sanders was saying. People were like, he's an independent. Nobody knows about him. Nobody cares about him. He can't get anything done. We're not worried. They ignored him. The media, if you remember, early in the 2016 race, they were completely ignoring Bernie Sanders. By the time the New York primaries were coming around, Bernie is picking up so much steam. And now the Democratic establishment is like, okay, this guy is becoming a problem. This guy is actually becoming a problem. Comes to New York. Now, remind you, New York was the state that it's Hillary's home state at this point. She was the senator from she served in the United States Senate from New York, and so this is supposed to be her territory, hands down. I'm living in the South Bronx at that time, right? I'm like right by 149th and Third Ave. Not sure if you're familiar with the area, but if you are, you'll know what I'm saying. The first the first event that Bernie Sanders has in the Bronx, in New York, is in the Bronx in St. Mary's Park. I go to St. Mary's Park because now the event's supposed to start at about like 7, 8 o'clock or whatever. I go there hours early. I go there about 4 hours before it starts. There is a line around St. Mary's Park, all the way around. So from 149th, I should probably just pick up a picture of St. Mary's Park because, like, listen, at this point, I didn't realize. That's when I realized how serious Bernie Sanders was as a candidate. Once I saw the turnout for his first event, and like I said, this is just his first event in New York. His first event in New York, it's just crazy. Like, just there's so many people, and like I said, this is hours before the event even starts. Hours before the event even starts, it's like you're looking at this and you're like, how is this, like, you've never seen, none of that excitement existed for Hillary. Now, there were people excited for Hillary, but it was nothing at that level. So once I saw that, I realized, you know, wow, this may not go the way people think it's going to go. People think this is going to go one way, and it may very well go a different way entirely. But hey, so let me share the screen. Okay, here we go. So this is St. Mary's Park. Oh, let me put this up. So this is St. Mary's Park. In fact, I'll just take me off. Okay, so St. Mary's Park is right here, right? 149th. That's that's what part of it, and then all the way over here to 143rd. So there was a line from all the way around here, all the way, from 149th, all the way around to 143rd, back here, and then it came back on itself. The line came back on itself hours before. This is like 4 or 5 hours before the event actually starts. 4 to 5 hours before the event actually starts. That's what the line looks like. I'm like, and this is Hillary's hometown. I'm saying, wow, they don't realize what a force Bernie is going to be. By the time the event actually happens, like it's just crazy. The line doubles in on itself. It's ridiculous the amount of people that are down there. He has two more events in New York, including one in Washington Square Park in downtown Manhattan. And once again, same thing. Just thousands and thousands of people are just flocking to see Bernie Sanders speak. Ultimately, some shady things happen with people getting kicked off of the ballot in New York, and Hillary wins the New York primary. Now, I want to set that stage because we get to ultimately you get to the 2016 primary, and Hillary Clinton wins the nomination. But there's a huge amount of people, a huge amount of Democratic voters that are pissed. Huge amount. And it's like at least 40%. Because you got to remember how close this race is between Hillary and Bernie in 2016. So at this point, these people that are pissed off, they're like, okay, we'll vote. We may vote for Hillary. Because some people are saying we're not voting for Hillary. Because there's a bunch of Bernie Sanders supporters that said, no, we'll vote third party, or we won't vote at all. Some just says, okay, we'll go into the ballot, into the booth, we'll hold our nose, and we'll cross off the button. That's what some people said. But a lot of people said, hey, we're not messing with Hillary at all. I wanted to set that stage for you. Here's why I wanted to set that stage. Because that is what ultimately leads to the election, the eventual election of this young lady. I'm going to explain how. People are pissed now, right? People are pissed. They saw the Democratic Party do some nonsense, and then they say, you know what? These are not these are left-leaning individuals, left-leaning, progressive, young people. They're like, we need to do something. The Democratic Party is beholden to corporate interests, and we need to challenge it. Like the Democratic Party needs to be cleaned out. Somebody needs to go in there and clean house. So what happens is a group of people, 4 guys, a couple of them are from Bernie Sanders' campaign. They hook up with 2 YouTubers, and they say, we're going to start a PAC, a political action committee, and we're going to go to war with the Democratic Party. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to get candidates elected across the country that support this agenda, Medicare for all, more like basically more money into the hands of people, raising the minimum wage. All of these policies that they had prioritized, that Bernie Sanders had been promoting, they said this is the platform of our group. Their group was called the Justice Democrats. I want to introduce you to the founders of the Justice Democrats. This is Zach Exley. He was on Bernie's team. This is Saikat Chakraborty. He was on Bernie's team. This is Kyle Kulinski. He's a YouTuber, very popular. And this is Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks, also another very popular YouTuber. I want y'all to see because these are the four that got together and created this group, Justice Democrats, and their entire stated goal was they're going to get inside the Democratic Party, get candidates elected, and clean house. They're basically going to go from inside and maneuver to get their agenda promoted. Uh, so listen, somebody here already knows how this story is gonna go. Thank you. Long story short. Long story short, already knows how this story goes. So yes, so they found this group and they have this platform, and their platform is Medicare for all, $15 minimum wage, a whole bunch of progressive issues that they're saying every candidate that runs under their banner has to support. So they come into New York and they're spotlighting certain districts of where they're going to challenge, people in Congress. One of those places is 14, New York District 14, where AOC is chosen as their candidate for that district. She's chosen to go up against Joe Crowley, who's like number three in Congress. This is a big deal. You're going up against the number 3 guy in Congress, and she's like an absolute unknown. But here's what's important. She's an absolute unknown. The people behind her are not absolute unknowns. So Cenk Uygur, Kyle Kalinske, they are promoting her heavy all day long. The mainstream media is trying to ignore her. They're like, okay, we're not gonna listen to her. We're not gonna pay attention to her. It's Crowley. Crowley's been in this for this many years. This is who's running. But one of the things she's doing is she's not just relying on them. The Justice Democrats and DSA, because there's other progressive groups in New York that were energized by Bernie, and so now they all come together to help. And she is door knocking like crazy in her district. So they're going all over the district just getting the message out about her campaign. And like there's even footage, like she has a picture of her shoes with like a hole in them because of how much running around she's doing to get her campaign off the ground and to get the message out there. But one of the things she also does is she's like, hey, I want to challenge Crowley to debate. And Crowley doesn't want to debate. Sound familiar? Crowley doesn't want to debate. He's the incumbent. It's like the guy with the title. Like I don't want to put my title on the line when I don't have to. But what she does is she keeps on pestering. She's going with the camera crew. Like, why won't you debate me? And then he makes a mistake. He makes a mistake that a lot of these entrenched people are not making anymore, because they saw him make the mistake and they're like, oh, whoa, we can't do that. Don't just give anybody a title shot. He actually agrees to a debate. He goes to a debate. Man, he gets his clock cleaned. He looks garbage. He looks horrible. He looks absolutely horrible in a debate against her. Now, in addition to that, he hasn't even been in the district. Like he's been MIA. He's been like chilling out of state, and then just stop by once in a while. Hey, he's number 3 in the house. He's number 3 in the house, so he's not even worried about it. Come primary day, he comes to find out he underestimated her way too much. And he didn't just underestimate her, he underestimated the machine and the seriousness of the machine behind her. So you had the Justice Democrats that actually built a machine to take on him, this entrenched Democrat. Now, I want to tell you something. This wasn't the only candidate they supported. Back in Missouri, they supported Cori Bush against this guy. I'm, I'm forgetting his name. Lacy Clay. Yeah, I think it's Lacy Clay, and he's been in Congress for forever, and it's like a dynasty type thing. It's just been passed down in the family. She winds up losing to Lacy Clay. Now, that's to give you an idea of, even with their support, she still lost that one. In this case, Joe Crowley completely took her for granted, completely took his opponent for granted, put no work in, just thought it was going to just be a cakewalk, and he got shellacked. Boom. But AOC becomes the primary, the Democratic candidate, and then that's when the media starts paying attention to her. That's when the media starts like, oh, she's great, she's amazing, she's awesome. Like look what she did. She's changing the game. And now the money that would have went to a bunch of the money that would have went to Crowley starts coming to her. Fast forward, she's giving speeches, she's going making media appearances, and I start to notice something about her. She's very shrewd. Like, she'll very non-committal about a bunch of stuff. It's what I noticed. A lot of people didn't notice it, though. A lot of people who saw her win was like, yes, this is what we needed. Justice Democrats, progressives actually going to take the fight to the establishment Democrats. This is going to be great. She gets into office and things start to change. Like Saikat Chakraborty, who's one of the founders of Justice Democrats, gets kicked out of her staff, is released from her staff, and she starts bringing on people that were, I think they were associated with, from Hillary's team or somebody else's team. She starts bringing people on. Also, with the Justice Democrats, things change. So now I want to hit what Long Story Short said. Kyle and Shank got thrown out of the group that they started. Yeah, so you see what happened is Cenk Uygur, if for those of you who don't know, he's a left wing progressive host on the Young Turks. He hasn't always been left wing. He used to be right wing Republican, and when he was right wing Republican, he wrote articles and everything. And so what happened was, some articles that he had written while he was a right wing Republican were brought up during the time of him being one of the founding members of Justice Democrats, and they're like, "Oh, these are offensive views. How can you say this? We can't support you saying these types of things." And so he was kicked out of the group. He was kicked out of Justice Democrats. One of the four founders kicked out. Kyle Galinsky says, "This is some bull. Like, how? Like, no, I'm not staying because I don't even like how you did him. You just did this dude dirty. I'm leaving." So now you only have two of the four founders remaining. Now we fast forward. Saikat AOC is in political office. Saikat Chakraborty is her chief of staff, and she winds up letting him go and picking somebody else. And if you've watched AOC, there's been, let me show you, there's been stories about AOC. Um, okay. There's stories about AOC, how effective she has been in Congress. And so they say she's introduced a total of 21 bills, but that's where the story ends. Her legislation has received no action in committees, no floor votes, none ever became law. She introduced a lot of bills, but she was not successful at having any of them receive any sort of action in committee or beyond committee. And if they can't get through committee, they cannot pass the House. So I wanted screw Cenk. He doesn't even live. Yeah, Crowley didn't even live in the district. Uh, but here's the thing: I wanted to talk about the story of AOC becoming a congresswoman because a lot of people see her fight of a brand new, unknown, completely unknown, going up against an established figure in politics, in the House, in Democratic politics, and winning. And so a lot of people saw Marcel Dixon and said, wait a minute, he could be the next AOC. But if you know the story of how AOC actually became AOC, you see it took more than just luck. It took more than just, her being determined and plucky spirit. It took an actual machine behind her. You can't go up against the machine if you don't have a machine of your own. Correction. You can't win against the machine. It's going to be very difficult to win against the machine if you don't have a machine of your own. Now, she didn't build the machine. She was just, boom, she was the face that was put up there. The machine's the Justice Democrats. And this is the one of the interesting things, that once she got into office, tell me, how much cleaning house of Congress has gone on? How much? How how hard has she fought for these issues that they put her in place for, and how much has she accomplished? You see, there's so many levels we have to be looking at this on. It's about more than just running up against a Clyburn. It's about more than just beating a Clyburn and getting into office. Because even if you beat a Clyburn and get into office, how are we going to get the job done? How are you going to make sure that the Black agenda actually gets enacted? One person, let's say Marcel Dixon won. He beats Clyburn. We get to November. He gets elected. He's in Congress. 434 people in Congress. 230 Democrats. 230. Yeah, so 234 Democrats. 234 Democrats. 200 Republicans, and Marcel Dixon. Now he's caucus. Well, he's listed as a Democrat, but he has an agenda that's different. How does he get it accomplished going up against this machine? The 200 Republicans, like which of the 200 Republicans are fighting for and standing with him on a reparations platform? Have you seen what the Republicans do every time HR 40 is discussed in Congress? Have you seen it? Because I've got footage on the channel. I've got several videos. In fact, I'll probably link some of them in the comment section when I put this on replay. But like, there's several videos of who the Republicans bring to speak when we're talking about reparations. So HR 40 is the congressional reparations bill, and every time it's discussed, Republicans will bring uh, anyone from their who's who of tap dancing black faces to come out there and make excuses as to why Black people should not receive reparations. Not to say, hey, this is how we have to do it. We have to do it differently. We have to put it in the form of this. They will go there to say, no, Black people shouldn't, reparations shouldn't be. Oh, slavery was 100 years, over 100 years ago. I've never been a slave, and the people that are paying taxes today aren't never been slave owners. So why do we need reparations? This is the kind of stupidity that the Republicans will bring at these hearings we'll talk about. So those 200 people are out of the picture. So now he would have to get the 234 Democrats on board. How does he do that? See, it can't be just, oh, we're just gonna vote and somebody's gonna get in office and they're gonna change. Because in order to make this happen, It's going to take strategy. And it's going to take strategy from a bunch of different areas. Let me look at some of these comments. She's too busy vacationing in Florida. So you're talking about Jay. Welcome to the stream. You're talking about AOC. Yeah, it's funny because AOC, who was an advocate of the masking and everything, was seen and photographed vacationing in Florida, sans mask, wound up testing positive for COVID. He would have to begin with the Black Caucus. So here's the thing with the Black Caucus: CBC, Congressional Black Caucus. Clyburn is a member of the CBC. If you're going to be a member of the CBC, if you're going to rely on the help of the CBC, that means you're going to have to get along with the CBC, number one. Number two, it assumes that the CBC is actually in support of reparations. Do we believe that the CBC is actually in support of reparations? Because if they're in support of reparations, I don't know why it would be so necessary for us to have a reparations candidate if we already have pro reparations candidates and people that are dedicated to a reparations platform already in Congress. You see what I'm saying? If we already have that in Congress, why do we need a reparations candidate? Like, the entire reason of why he's running against Clyburn is because the idea is that Clyburn isn't really committed to this. Tack Lad, welcome to the stream. They won't even allow research into reparations, which shows they know it's owed, but they do not want to cost their white fragile base. And so this is where we're at. We're at a lot of these individuals will only do lip service. So the Republicans don't even want to do lip service. The Democrats, there's a bunch of Democrats that, like, we're not even touching this issue. We're not going to talk about this issue. There are some Democrats who are going to talk about it, who are going to hold hearings. Oh, let's have a discussion, because they realize that their base is pissed off after 2020. Summer Floyd, racial justice, racial issues, a black agenda was so much more on the forefront. So they had to put on a performance. They had to put on a show. They had to make it look good. That's what HR 40. That's what the HR 40 hearings are about. That's what that's what the California hearings is about. The California, was it CB 3121? That's what that one is about. That's about, hey, making it look good. Oh wow, well, we got to calm people down. Black folks are upset. We got to calm them down. And my point is, we're gonna need strategy, but we're also gonna have to be aware of their strategy. We're gonna have to be aware of when they're just playing games, when they're just, oh, let's just toss something out there and get them to shut up. We got to be on point. Jay, how about going to the Congressional Black Caucus and making a threat that if they don't vote for it, he'll go back to all their constituents and help their challenges? Okay, so now, see, now this is what now we're starting to figure out. Now, but that takes two things. We need, or I'm not saying this is a great idea. Like, if they're not on board, then okay, then we're going to put people up against them. We're going to, because that's what they listen to. Like, politicians respond to power. When you threaten everybody, like, they respond to power, they respond to votes, they respond to getting taken out of power. So if you're telling them, if you don't fall in line, we're going to get your opponents elected. We're going to get a challenger elected against you. We're going to put somebody up against you. We're going to make them win. But to do that, we need to have a machine that can put up a candidate and make sure that candidate actually wins or has a credible threat of winning. Because if we have the strategist in place who can say, okay, we're putting up candidates against you, and we've got a boots on the ground. We've got a network on the ground that can actually. We're going to knock doors, get the message out there. We're actually going to primary you and beat you if you are not on board. But we need to make sure we have those things in place. We need to make sure we have the footwork in place, the network in place, and the money. We're gonna need money. We are definitely going to need money because if you're gonna go up against the Democratic establishment, you're gonna need a lot of money. By the way, did you catch Hillary Clinton telling Democrats to drop the L? Oh yeah, yes, yeah. That in fact, let me see. I haven't done a video on that yet. I think I have something I'm writing on that because yeah, that was Hillary's like, listen, like now is not the time to pander. Right now, we have to pander to the white base, the white majority base, and we can pander to everybody after we win the election. We can pander to everybody else. But I wanted to fast forward to where we're at right now in terms of because people saw um, Dixon lose, Marcel Dixon lose, and some people, some people didn't even want to acknowledge or say the words he lost. Yeah, okay, he lost. This is a primary. He's vying for to be the Democratic nominee, the Democratic nominee for South Carolina District 6, and he lost. Cool. Like I said, I ran for office. Guess what? I lost. It's not a bad word. It's a reality. It's an objective reality. Acknowledging that says, okay, I lost. Like with me, I said I lost. Okay, what did I learn from my loss? Like I learned certain things about better campaigning, better messaging, boom, strategy. Like these are things that you have to be objective about, and use of money. So like in my race, I was in terms of because one of the things I looked at, and this is something that you really have to look at, especially if you're going up against deep pockets. If you're going up against deep pockets, you have to be paying attention to dollar to vote ratio. I saw Yvette Carnell had mentioned something about this, and I don't even know if she mentioned it in terms of going up against deep pockets, but she said that just from a campaign standpoint. And yeah, listen, if you're from a campaign standpoint, you got to realize you've got to acknowledge how much money you're getting in, how much money you're spending, and how much you're getting in return for the money you're spending. Because if you're spending $1 million, like one guy in my race did, and then gets under 10,000 votes, like one guy in my race did, like like you wasted a lot of money. Like that was not an efficient use of your resources. But then um, if you spend, how much did he spend? Like $2,000. If you spend under $5,000 and get 15,000 votes, like think about it. You spend under $5,000, get over 15,000 votes. So that means you're spending like 33 cents a vote. That's a way better return on your investment than uh, a lot of people are spending. But especially if you're going up against deep pockets, these are things you need to be paying attention to. Welcome, Rocket Man, Rocky Matrix. Sound like most people sat out the primaries. Yeah, and that's going to happen. But here's the key: if you're dealing with that, you got to realize that there's a lot of the base that's tired. There's a lot of people that they don't think that anything's actually going to change. And that's so, in other words, you've got to establish who is my target audience. Like if Marcel is running against Clyburn, he has to realize who is his target audience. Because now you got some old black folks who've been who've been voting Democrat for the last 40 years. For the last 40 years, they go in the booth, D, 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 D. Last 40 years. That's all they do. They don't know. They don't look. They don't do. They don't look up the policy. They don't ask for anything. They just go in that booth. D D D D D. It's like a ritual. Is this his target audience? Is that his target audience? Because if that's his target audience, how is he going to get them to not vote for the Democratic establishment candidate, the one that the party is behind, the one that they've been voting for the past 30 years? How is he going to get them to stop voting for that guy and vote for him? However, if his target is the people that aren't even showing up to the polls, the people that are like, nothing's going to change. If that's his target, now he has they have no allegiance to Clyburn. If they have no allegiance to Clyburn, he now has people he can get to and say, listen, I agree with you. The system sucks. We are 1,000% on the same page. The system sucks. The Clyburn's going to get in there and do the same nothing. That's why we have to make sure Clyburn isn't the one that goes back in there. That's why I'm running. Like, if that's your target, if that's your audience, now you're presenting an even bigger problem, because now you're bringing people to the polls that haven't been showing up. Now Clyburn's got to work harder. And if Clyburn's just relying on this group that's been just doing the same thing, but you're bringing new faces in, you're bringing new people that had given up, you're bringing them back. Oh man, now you're a problem. Now you're a real problem for them. I'm posting videos. I'm doing one about the down ballot strategies. We should only focus on local and state offices. So listen, I'm gonna get into something that tells you why we need to be focused on more than just that. But I'll get to that shortly. Why Roland Martin saying vote blue no matter who with his government check collecting ass. Marcel Dixon has plenty funds left to run for local office. Yes. He also, and I got to check out exactly what he needs to do this. I think he can just file a statement to do it. I think it's fairly routine that he can actually take that money and fund it into a PAC. Like, there's certain things he can and can't do with the money, but I believe he can put it into a political action committee. I believe he can. I've got to double check. In fact, I hope he's double checking that, because if you had, because like I said, when I looked, he had spent about $46,000, had over $100,000 left. Like, that's money that you can be doing something else with, and that's something you need to be doing something else with moving forward. Most baby boomers and silent generations are a lost cause. I mean, and you've got so many of them that just blue no matter who, like Jay was just talking about. That's what it is. Blue no matter who. And who does the party recommend? Oh, the party says that's who we vote for. That's who we vote for. Because, like, I've had conversations with these people. I'm like, what policies? No, that's it. I just vote Democrat. I vote Democrat, and who the party endorses. That's it. Because it's easy. It's easy. They don't have to actually do research. They don't actually have to compare and contrast. It's easy. All they have to do is just who? Okay, boom, boom. And who is this? Somebody said, as long as they get their social security checks, they're good. Screw the next generation. Doesn't matter what happens to the rest of us. And that's why, like, I have issues with the older generations that have sold the black community out. They sold us out. They sold us out because they keep voting for people that care nothing about us and are doing nothing for us. But they're like, hey, just take care of us. We don't care about the rest. Got a huge issue with that. Same old people who are currently complaining will vote back the same policies. Easy, and put a target on our back. Exactly. Yeah. Oh yeah, we need more laws. We need more cops on the street. We need. Wait, do you see what they like? Do you see what they've already done? Like what? But like what I'm talking about here is bringing strategy and realizing that like none of this happens by accident. It doesn't happen by accident. It takes coordinated effort. It takes strategy. It takes mobilization. And so, like, we have to be aware of the politics. So, I do want to touch on what Jay was talking about local office. And where did you put it? You wrote that we should only vote for local office. Um, yeah, I got mine after the rest of y'all. I'm looking for that video I saw. Sheila Jackson Lee went to a church and started talking about slavery and how black people overcame slavery and then pivoted to why we need to vote. That's crazy. Yeah, it's absolute crazy. Um, so voting local offices is important. But here's the thing. So one of the points that I was talking about in terms of with AOC and the Justice Democrats, because the Justice Democrats, their entire agenda was we can take over the Democratic Party. That was their idea. They can get inside, take over, and then make it into something that actually fights for, poor people, poor working class people. How's that going for them? In case you don't know how it's going for them, um, Clyburn, in addition to doing some running in this race, he was also focused on other races. So one of the things he did was he went to Texas to campaign for a guy by the name of Henry Cuellar. Henry Cuellar was running against a young lady by the name of Jessica Cisneros. Jessica Cisneros, progressive, endorsed by. Let me show you who Jessica Cisneros was endorsed by. Jessica Cisneros was endorsed by AOC. Jessica Cisneros was endorsed by Katie Porter, Ayanna Presley, Jamal Bowman, Elizabeth Warren, and Bernie Sanders. That's who endorsed Jessica Cisneros. This is Jessica Cisneros. Jessica Cisneros lost her race. I'm going to say it again. Jessica Cisneros, it was close. Like the recount just finished yesterday, and they came back that she lost the race. She was endorsed by AOC, Ayanna Presley, Jamal Bowman, Elizabeth Warren, Katie Porter, Bernie Sanders. These are sitting Congress people and sitting senators. She was endorsed by sitting United States senators. But she was going up against the establishment, and she lost. With all of the energy that she had behind her, all of the support she had behind her, she still lost. Pelosi, Clyburn, Steny Hoyer, guess who they supported? Henry Cuellar. Guess who's the nominee? Henry Cuellar. The Democratic machine, the machine that exists within the Democratic Party, is a serious machine. Like if we forget that, like if we start thinking, oh yeah, it's easily beaten, we're not paying attention. This is a very serious machine, and it's funded by extremely powerful people, extremely rich people, extremely deep pockets, extremely experienced people, because what they're fighting for is control over our lives. And they will go all out to continue to control our lives. If we're going to beat them, it's going to take a lot. It's going to take a lot to beat them. Sheila Jackson Lee is Jamaican. Clyburn ran and shut down Nina Turner. Yes, Nina Turner, another one. Former, what was she to Bernie Sanders? She was high up in his campaign. She lost. And she was endorsed, once again, by sitting U.S. senators. And she lost against the establishment candidate. Twice. Twice. The machine is powerful. So now, here's what I will say. They will bow to the establishment. Every now and again, they will challenge the establishment. But even when they challenge the establishment strikes back. The establishment will assert its dominance and let people know we run this. We run the show. So how do we get a black agenda handled in Congress, handled in the United States Senate, handled in the House of Representatives? How? Even if we're running for local offices, how do we do it if the Democratic establishment has its own agenda? And it's what I say. We have to realize reality is not binary. Reality is not binary. The world is not zeros and ones, yes or no, red or blue, Democrat or Republican. There are other options. Now, you may say, what other options are there besides Democrat and Republican? Now, on a national scale, you've got the Green Party, you've got the Libertarian Party. In any given election, any given national election, you can have 45, those two parties will have 45 or more, those other two parties will have 45 or more states they'll be on the ballot. But let's say you don't like Libertarian or Green Party. Okay. What about your own party? Your own party line, your own independent ballot line. But to do that, you're going to need to know what the ballot access laws are. And so now I want to address what Jay said in terms of only voting local. Jay, in New York State, where I'm at, in order to get on the ballot, you either needed to get thousands of signatures on a petition, or be an officially recognized party by the state. How do you become an officially recognized party by the state? Well, in 2018, the rules were, in order to become an officially recognized party in New York State, you need to get 50,000 votes in the governor's race. That was the rule. 50,000 votes or more in the governor's race. So that means you get a candidate, they run for governor, and if they get more than 50,000 votes for the next 4 years, that line has automatic ballot access. So now, you know how much time and money you save if, instead of having to run around and get thousands of signatures, all you need to do is, okay, pick a candidate. and there's still some signatures. But when you have automatic ballot access, the signatures is you just have to get the candidates need to get signatures for their specific run from registered party members, and that's a fraction of. It's not thousands. Um, just it's a fraction of what's needed if you have no ballot access. But the party will automatically have a ballot line, and then it can have the primary, and then choose its candidates. Boom, and then they can run. Now that was the rule, and that rule was supposed to be in place up until this year, 2024. In 2020, do you know what they did? In 2020, during lockdown, it's April 2020. April 20, they locked the state in March of 2020. They locked the state down. New York State is on lockdown. Only essential people are supposed to be going outside. In April of 2020, they changed the rules. They changed the rules so that now, in order to be an officially recognized party in New York State, you know what you need? You need 165,000 votes. Not 50, 165,000 votes. But you don't just need 165,000 votes when you vote for governor. You also need 165,000 votes when you vote for president. So, in order to be an officially recognized party, every 2 years, you've got to run a candidate as a governor or president, and that person must get at least 165,000 votes or more in order to get official ballot access for the party. So I get what you're saying when you're saying that, local should be the focus, but sometimes, and these are the rules we have to pay attention to that they're creating, and they're creating these rules to stop us from having options, that we need to run national candidates just to meet certain thresholds. And that's in New York. So there's ballot access, there's different ballot access laws all across the country, and different things that must be done in order to get third parties and independent parties ballot access. But my focus is, this is what we need to, if we want the black agenda to be pushed, we're going to have to realize that that's going to have to be an option. Because if we're going only through the Democratic Party, we're at their mercy. Because what a lot of people don't realize is the Democratic Party is not government. The Democratic Party is a private corporation. The Democratic National Committee is a private corporation. And as a private corporation, it gets to make its own rules. And this has been found out. If I forgot the court case, I should have brought the court case. But there's a court case where they actually acknowledge, like, we get to make our rules of our corporation, and we get to choose whether or not we obey certain rules. If we realize that the Democratic Party is a corporation, it's a private corporation, and they get to do what they want to do, we're going to realize, wait a minute, working within that makes it so much harder for us to accomplish what we need. And that's the point. Like, that's the point of the parties. The point of the parties is to act as a gatekeeper to government. So you've got these two private corporations, Republican National Committee, Democratic National Committee, that act as gatekeepers to government. They're there to stop regular people from being able to get on that ballot and change things. They want to completely control access to the ballot so that, yeah, we can vote, but these two corporations are the ones that are choosing who we get to vote for. We've got to be aware of this and figure out strategies to combat that. Kathy Hochul is scared to debate Larry and Howard. Yes, but listen, here's the thing. 20 2014, Cuomo debates Howie. 2018, Larry's on the ballot. Larry's running. Larry's on the ballot. Cuomo doesn't want to debate Larry. Cuomo was scared to debate Larry. Cuomo and Molinaro, the Republican begs Cuomo, have a debate, but just me. Don't 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 let any of the others come. And Cuomo does it because Cuomo wanted to make sure that remember how I said those two parties they want to control access to the ballot because what the rules stated in New York is the party that came into second place would get to staff the board of elections. They did not want the Republicans to lose, so Cuomo saved the Republican Party in New York State to make sure that the status quo was maintained. And yeah, Kathy Hochul doesn't want to debate Larry. Of course not. Dems changed the rules for ballot access. Absolutely. Absolutely. Non-media governor. Um, my eyes blur. I can't read that comment. Dems pretend to be pro voting rights, but it's actually the right to vote for them, which is why they absolutely. Like you'll see them do this. Like they did it during lockdown. Like that in itself was just mind boggling. Like how do you defend that? The state is locked down. How do you change the rules to make it harder for ballot access and effective immediately? What? We're locked down. So listen, I know it makes you pessimistic, but that just means we have to fight harder and smarter. Correction. We have to fight smarter. We have to realize who we're dealing with. We have to realize what we're up against, and that's where the strategy comes in. So that's why I say just I get I don't know specifically. I'm assuming based on because like I haven't had conversations with Marcel Dixon, but I'm assuming that his mindset may have been okay. He sees an AOC go head to head with an established candidate, and he's like, okay, it's possible to beat them. But then what I think he may not have realized is how much how little she's done since getting in there, and two, how much her win put them on notice because that she got once she did what she did, they were like, okay, wait a minute, we can't let that happen again. We can't let a non-establishment candidate take out one of our top generals. Like I said, Crowley was like third in line. Now, Clyburn is here. They was like, no way we're going to stand by, idly by, and let Clyburn fall to somebody who's not willing to play ball with everything we want them to do. Because that's the thing. They're like, wait a minute, is this dude gonna play ball with us? Is this dude gonna just sign the dotted line? Is he gonna just say, listen, screw the people, worry about you? What do you need? Like, is he gonna roll with us, or is he gonna try to buck and fight for the people? Because if you're gonna fight for the people, they don't want you, and they will fight tooth and nail to stop you from getting into power, and they will bring their machine to bear against you because they'll say, okay, listen, perfect case in point, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is the clown that is, she's in Congress, but she has no committee assignments. Like she does nothing. She does nothing but make stupid statements, and she has no concern about actually getting anything accomplished for her constituents. Her job is to play this culture war nonsense and just keep collecting a paycheck. $174,000. Keep collecting a paycheck. Keep her profile high, and capitalize on her popularity and her press coverage in order to enrich herself. That's it. Because here's what MTG is. Marjorie Taylor Greene is to white Republicans, white conservatives, what the Democratic Party is to us. It's exactly what she's doing. She gives them lip service and does nothing for them. It's a reality. They're not used to that. Like as a black voter, like I see it, I'd like you're getting played like the Democratic Party plays us. And Trump started that nonsense over there. Trump really brought it to a level over there because remember, Trump is a Democrat. Trump has been a Democrat for years. So he had the Democratic playbook. He watched the Democratic playbook. And he said, oh, wow, what if I took the Democratic playbook that they use on black people and used it on middle America, white America? Well, I can make a killing. And that's what he did. He whispered sweet nothings to white Americans, white conservatives, and not even just regular white Americans, just poor middle class white Americans. He whispered sweet nothings to them, told them what they want to hear, and then did nothing for them. That's Trump. But he got the playbook because he saw how the Democrats have been playing us. He's watched for years as Democrats use that playbook to play us. And he says, oh, this is easy. July next month is White History Month. Marjorie Taylor Greene should be. Oh, that would be funny. She should bring JLP and Nick Fuentes, and then those two can, well, if JLP and Nick Fuentes meet, things could get interesting. I don't know. I know you. I did the story on JLP, but there's been rumors about Nick Fuentes as well. She will get reinstated. I don't know. She invests in businesses she says she opposes to, like Big Pharma. Oh yeah, yeah. It's just all game, all game. She was checked on it and tried blaming her broker. You tried to oppose a business in America and force liability on them. Why would you buy that stock? Yeah, she's a fraud. Absolutely, she's a fraud. But like, so my whole idea is we need it requires being strategically oriented and realizing that it's going to take a lot, and it's going to take, like I said, a multi this war is going to have to be fought in several fronts. So voting, and to Cortese's point, where voting, voting is not going to be the end all be all. Voting is going to be part of it, but let's just remember. So there's several branches of government. Courts, the courts are definitely going to be a part of it, and like right now, I know if I had run against Eric Adams, because I ran against de Blasio in 2017, but if I run against Eric Adams, I would have lost, and then I would have still had my political run would not have stopped the mandates. So, what am I doing to stop the mandates? I'm suing him. Got him in federal court right now. I've got my motion for preliminary injunction pending. We'll see what happens. But like the grounds I have, I think I got some phenomenal grounds against the mandates, the private sector jab mandates, because it's a multi-tiered war. It's a multi-front. The war has so many fronts. I can accomplish through the courts what I couldn't accomplish running against him and losing. Had I run against him and won, that's a different story. But it would have taken so much more, especially with the shenanigans that they're doing in New York. It would take so much more to run up against the Democrats and win in New York City. But then you take them to court, and you can start getting stuff done. And there's other things to do. There's political action committees. There's um, there's grassroots organizations where you can actually mobilize voters, so that even if you're not directly voting, you can actually form groups around certain issues, and then mobilize groups of voters and say, listen, you see that all these people we have with us, they're all focused on this issue. These are votes, and this is what you're going to do to get these votes. So if you've got 100 people, you've got 1,000 people, you've got 10,000 people behind you, and you can go up to a congressperson, you can go up to a local legislator and say, listen, this is what you're going to do. Like this, we're not asking you. We're telling you this is what you're going to do. If you do not do it, this is your last. This is your last year in office. This is your last your last run in office. We're replacing you. We'll get somebody who is. This is what's going to get done. We're going to get this thing done, and it's either going to be you doing it or the guy we get to replace you. This is what I'm talking about. It's about strategy. It's about realizing that we have a lot of options, being aware of all of our options, and using them strategically. Troy, welcome to the stream. Has JLP gone into damage control mode? One would think he would have want to get it. Like I think he's just trying to ignore it, and his his base, they ignore a lot of the stupid stuff he says. So like I the video I did yesterday, where I'm like, when this dude says I don't do research, he said I don't do research, and people are still listening to him. Like yeah. Like what? This dude just said he does not do research. He gets up on Rashad Ritchie's channel to debate the George Floyd police bill, and he hasn't read it. He hasn't read it. Like, how can you take this dude seriously? But there's a bunch of people who do, because he tells them what they want to hear, and so they don't care about the rest. They don't care about like, and so like when I look at there's so many Christian conservatives that when they supported Trump, I was like, this dude's like a serial adulterer, right? Then he's running, and then he's saying stuff like, oh yeah, he's talking about how he moved on a married woman. I'm like, okay, this is who he is, and they're like, in fact, one of the excuses they said, we're voting for president, not a pastor. I'm like, I could have sworn that's not the same criteria you had for the last guy. I could be wrong, but I could have sworn that your criteria was slightly different for the other guy. But okay. When he's getting there making a speech about 2 Corinthians, I forgot what scripture he was, 2 Corinthians 13. 2 Corinthians, this dude has clearly never, ever opened a Bible. 2 Corinthians, and you're going to let that rock? 2 Corinthians? This dude has never opened the Bible. The first time he saw an open Bible was when he had to swear on one. That was the first time. 2 Corinthians. What? And then the part that really killed me, the part that just put everything away, was when Wayne Allen Root talks about he's the second coming of God or something like that. Second coming of Christ. And I said, Christian conservatives are going to go off. Because Wayne Allen Root said it. Trump retweets it. I said, they're going to go off. Crickets. I said, people are fake. Just absolutely fake. Next re-election, MTG is reinstated automatically. Okay, you're talking about, but they still have to assign committees. And so they can still choose to not assign her any committees, like they did AOC. AOC got played out of committees. She did all of that tap dancing, and they played her. They took some other chick out from New York and put her in the committee instead of AOC. Um, well, I saw that Poor People's Campaign outside of Washington. What is the accomplished, by the way? So, like, they're pushing, and so I see these Poor People's Campaigns, and I see what they're pushing for. I disagree with their policies because I don't think their policies are beneficial. Um, if you're trying to help poor people, giving the government more money is not going to accomplish that. Giving the government more money actually incentivizes the government to not solve the problem. Troy, I think he's calling children of the line. Oh, oh. They are part of the family of the children of the lie. Oh God. White supremacy always breaks their toys. That Poor People Campaign didn't call out anyone. Never read the Bible, never. But yeah, I mean, so like I see, like, because like even in my comment section, somebody had gotten upset about something about the video I did about Marcel Dixon, and they're like, "Oh, you're like, who are you?" And well, okay, yeah, I've run for office. Guess, like I said, full disclosure, I didn't win, but that's objective reality. Me saying that Marcel Dixon, Greg lost, I'm not insulting him. That's just an objective fact. He lost the primary. Now, could there be strategy behind that? Absolutely. Absolutely. Like there could be times when you run with no intention of winning. Like you could be running as a paper candidate, and there's a whole bunch of different reasons why you may be doing some of that. And like some things I won't even get into necessarily on here, but like there's so many different reasons why you could be running, and winning isn't the objective, right? So, but like even like where we say like in terms of New York's ballot access laws. So even if you're running for president or governor in New York State, the win isn't the only objective. The win would be great, but like an objective could be just to establish ballot access for the party. Because in 2018, that's what Larry Sharp did. He didn't win the race, but he won ballot access. He got over 50,000 votes. We got automatic ballot access as a party. That's huge. So there are things that you can accomplish by running and not winning the race. Depends on the rules in the state, your ballot access laws and certain other factors, but there could be a reason why you're running without intending to win. There could definitely be a reason. It could be part of a greater strategy. But being aware of what the reality is, okay, you didn't lose, you won, you didn't win the primary. Okay. So what's next? How do we proceed next? But it's a complicated game. It's a very deeply involved game, and it's a long game. This is not okay. How do we get reparations by November? That's not happening. It's not happening. Correction. That's not likely to happen. Maybe somebody can come up with an amazing plan, but I'll bet that 95%. But I'll say right now, like that's not the. If that does happen, great. That's not the realistic plan. That's not the statistically probable plan, and that's not where we need to be putting all of our energy. In other words, we put all of our energy into long-term plans that can effectuate goals step by step and achieve objectives. We need a black agenda first. Absolutely. And so I actually have an outline. I'm gonna put it together, and I'll be releasing it soon. Because I've been sitting on the black agenda for a while, but like I have ideas of what a black agenda needs to be focused on, um, and what is in our best interest. So yeah, I'll put that together, and once I've finished, I will put it up, and I'll do a video on it and everything. But we absolutely need a black agenda, and here's why we need a black agenda. It's not enough to say we need tangibles. What are tangibles? Because I see people saying we need tangibles, and then saying, yeah, we need a black hate crime bill, anti-black anti-black hate crime bill. I'm like, wait a minute. Did you read the anti-Asian hate crime bill? The anti-Asian hate crime bill was not tangibles for Asians. No, the anti-Asian hate crime bill was tangibles for police. The anti-Asian hate crime bill had the statement of support and we love you Asian people, and then a bunch of money being earmarked for police departments across the country. That's what the anti-Asian hate bill did. That's why somebody was had something on Twitter, and they're like, "Do we need like an anti-black hate crime bill?" They said a couple of things. A new Black Lives Matter mural on the street, or the in fact, they didn't even say, "Do we need?" They listed what certain groups had got. They listed what like the Asians got. They listed what the LGBT got. They listed what the Ukrainians got, and then they said, like, what did we get? And I'm like, listen, they could keep what they gave the LGBTQ and the Asian groups. They could keep that. Give us what they give us what they gave the Ukrainians. Give us those billions of dollars. That's like, y'all can keep the symbolism, because that's what they did for them in that tweet. He says, I forget exactly what the tweet was, but it was like these two symbolic things that they did for LGBT and for Asian communities, and then actual money for the Ukrainians, like actual cash for the Ukrainians. I'm like, yeah, y'all can keep that symbolic stuff. Give us the cash. Give us the cash, because we can do something with the cash. Your thoughts and prayers, your best wishes. Yeah, I can't do much with that. Give us the cash. And so when we're talking about tangibles, like, we need to define what the tangibles are, because we can't say we need tangibles and then let them choose what those, number one, what tangibles are and what those tangibles are going to be for us. We need to be saying, these are the tangibles you need to be providing for us. So you need to end the war on drugs, because this is a pretext that's being used to wreak havoc on black communities. You need to end the war on drugs. That's it. You need to start cut these dudes' sentences, get them out of prison. Like these are things that they're tangible things that we need. Like, boom, X, just start listing them of what they need to be doing, because of stuff that the government is currently doing that's screwing over the black communities. But we need to tell them, this is what you're going to do, not what are you going to do. Because if we ask them what are they going to do, they'll say, yeah, we'll give you an anti-black hate crime bill. And when we get to it'll say, it'll list all 10 names of the Buffalo massacre victims. And we provide this resolution in support and in remembrance and in memoriam of these victims of anti-black racism, and we're earmarking trillions of dollars to local police departments across the state, across the country. Whoa! Wait! Glad that you gave the memoriam. I'm glad that you gave the respect, the recognition to the Buffalo massacre victims. but you're giving the money to the police departments. What? Wait, didn't we haven't we already established that these anti-black racists have infiltrated police departments all across the country, and you're giving them the money? This is starting to seem like y'all aren't really trying to help us. I'm starting to get that impression. But that's what happens if we don't have specifics. If we don't know specifically what they're supposed to get us, telling them to give us tangibles, and then if we being unable to define what those tangibles are, yeah, that's useless. Absolutely useless. And that's a surefire way for us to get played. The fact that Senator Warlord and obesity Abrams don't have a black agenda, 34. Yeah, listen, they have a Democratic agenda. That like Stacey Abrams has pledged and demonstrated her allegiance to the Democratic Party. That's who she fights for. She fights for the Democrats. So everything she's pushing for is how to protect the Democratic Party's interest, to preserve the Democratic Party's power, and maintain the Democratic Party's margins. That's her objectives. That's her that's her agenda. A Democratic agenda. D1. She's not B1, she's D1. Democrat first. Start using our votes to leverage both sides, even leverage the Green Party libertarians. Yeah, so I definitely know. So now, who's it? Yeah, I did the video on Philip Scott, talking about maybe voting for Republicans. So here's the problem with the Republicans. I've watched the Republicans, and if you start watching, there's certain conservatives that there's like black conservatives that don't hate black people. So if you've heard of Sonny Johnson, um, it's like she's phenomenal, phenomenal, and she will break down like what's going on and the games that the Republican Party plays all day long, because they will literally go out of their way to pick black faces that have contempt for black communities. They'll go out of their way. And then you'll have black conservatives, black Republicans who actually like black people, and the Republican Party will shun them. Like CPAC, the last CPAC, where St. John talked about how everybody that was associated with her was not invited to the last CPAC. So a couple of CPACs ago, Maj Toure gets invited, and what Maj Toure does is, from Black Guns Matter, he brings Sonny Johnson, Shamika Michelle, um, Angela Stanton. Does he bring Angela Stanton King? I think he brought Angela Stanton King. Um, I'm trying to remember the brother's name. It's escaping me. But he brings a panel full of black conservatives that actually like black people, and and they start spitting fire about how, listen, this is some nonsense, that the messaging that you all are relying on is some nonsense. Like, this is how you can put the messaging forward and promote a message that actually attracts black people to the party. They eventually wind up like just complete CPAC, like just cuts ties. Like I said, the last CPAC, none of those people are invited. And Lawrence Jones from Fox, like when you'll see him when he was hosting Fox Primetime, he would bring on your Sonny Johnsons, your Jeff Charles, your King Randalls, Felicia Killings. Like, he's bringing on Kira. Like, this is so he was bringing on like just a host of black conservatives that like actually have respect for black communities, But like all of these people that he was bringing on, it's like the you've got this group of conservatives, this establishment Republicans that like, no, we'll go with the Jesse Lee Petersons and the Candace Owens. We'll go with the people that are calling black people um, evil and say that they should be on plantations. We'll go with those black faces. It's like almost as if they don't want black votes. And so that's when I'm saying to like in terms of Philip Scott, I'm like we can't reward that. If the Republican Party is going to actively and intentionally choose to give a middle finger to black communities, we got to give a middle finger back. It's not good enough that the Democrats are not actually getting the job done. That means we need to say screw both of y'all. Y'all can both burn in hell. We're focusing on third parties or starting our own parties. Cortese, what if they try to demonize the idea of a black agenda? This country does not consider the KKK a terrorist group. They will try to call us black supremacists. They will. Fuck them. Like literally, fuck them. I don't like, and this is what I say. When I form a black agenda, I'm not asking for permission. I don't give a, I don't give a damn whether they like it or not. This is what it is. So with the fact that there has been hundreds of years of coordinated anti-black hatred is the reason why we absolutely unequivocally need a pro-black agenda, because anti-black hatred, anti-black warfare has existed in this country and of course this planet for hundreds of years. There's the MAFA, the Black Holocaust is real. For hundreds of years across this globe, there has been a coordinated, intentional, deliberate effort to to denigrate, to subjugate, to destroy, and to terrorize black people. If we don't have a black agenda, we've missed the point. If we don't have a black agenda, we haven't been paying attention. If we don't have a black agenda, it's insanity. It's insanity for us not for us to look at the last several hundreds of years and to say we don't need a black agenda. That's insanity. And anybody that tries to tell us that we shouldn't have a black agenda, call them out on it. Like, wait a minute. What what 400 years have you been watching? What past 400 years have you been watching? Yeah, they'll say that, and I will come back with the fire. Hundreds of years, and I come back with fire every time they try it. Like, because they will try it. Trust me, they'll try it. But I don't give a damn about their like. This is what it is. This is what we're doing. We're focused on this. Like, if you have a problem with it, get in a time machine, go back hundreds of years, and stop your ancestors from targeting and terrorizing black people. Otherwise, shut the hell up, sit the fuck down, and we'll handle this. That's it. That's it. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. A black agenda is coming. That's what we're having. We're having a black agenda, and we're not asking for permission. Because those black conservatives that are promoted by places like TPUSA, they're there for a white audience to make white conservatives feel comfortable about their negative, stereotypical depictions and opinions about black people. The agenda would immediately be attacked by Republicans. It will be entertained by Dems. Listen, here's the thing: the Dems, once the Dems see what the agenda is about, they're going to try to demonize it. But that's why, here's the thing: if if you're with somebody, if you're in a relationship with somebody and they say they love you, and you're like, okay, you love me? Okay, well, I need some things. I'm not doing too well in my health. I need you to go and get me some things from the store. I need you to get me some fruit. I need you to get me some exercise equipment. Get me that rollerball. Some medicine. These are the things I need to help get me back to health. You love me. Can you please go get these things for me? And the person goes, I didn't think I was going to actually have to do any work. What that person has just established is they don't love you. So the Democrats like to profess their love for black communities. They like to pretend that they love black communities. Put them on the spot. Make them prove it. Make them prove that either they do love us, or as I know, they don't love us. Make them prove it. Make them stand up and say, we're not going to do that. And let's say, thank you. Now we can get rid of the illusions. We can get rid of all pretense, and we can interact with them accordingly. We're not friends. We're not allies. In fact, clearly, you're our enemies, and we will treat you accordingly. And all Americans, that's exactly what they'll say. Exactly what they will say. But yeah, I mean, it's about strategy. It's about staying focused, staying, and it like I said, it's going to be a lot of work. This is not going to come easy. Like, these people they've built the machine to build their power. They're going to fight like hell to maintain their power. There are people who hate the black community, and they will fight like hell to continue to get away with, stopping the black community. We see every time the black community makes strides forward, there are these groups that pop up with these tricks and schemes to try to bring us back down and tear us back down. So we have to realize we're in a fluid situation that's going to require proactivity, strategy, unity, and a lot of work. I really want to thank everyone for coming and checking out the stream today. And I haven't even looked at the like button. If you haven't hit the like button, please do so now. Please do so now. Hit that like button. Helps with the algorithm if you haven't done it already. Thank you, everyone, for coming and checking out the stream. I want y'all to have, what time is it? It's almost 6. I want you to have a great rest of your evening. And hey, let's stay focused. Let's get to work. Thank you, Jay. And hey, let's change the world. Let's change the world.